Will that drawing down of foreign aid from the United States to Israel be compensated by the proposal to have a merging of some sort between our Pentagon and your military?
Yeah, I'm calling it from aid to partnership.
It certainly brings up some issues of sovereignty, but we'll have to work that out later.
So, Adam, we've got a lot on this story, including a House vote today and a Senate vote yesterday, and one of them was shocking. But before we get to that, so there's Netanyahu saying, yeah, from aid to partnership. And a lot of the media is reporting is like they don't want any more money. He said in that same interview, no, we want 10 more years of money, plus we want to have all of your military technology for free. So isn't this an obvious scam for Israel to get all of our defense spending, $1 to $1.5 trillion for free?
That clip just killed me inside a little bit. Really quickly, I want to say, again, thanks to the audience and thank you for having me on to talk about the youth perspective. It really does mean a lot to be able to, just give the youth generational perspective on shows. But one of the worst ways I think to be honored after I die would be to have Ben Gvir send out a tweet saying that I was Israel's greatest soldier, like he did for Lindsey Graham, and then having Netanyahu go on Fox News and immediately honor you. I could not think of a worse way to be honored. But Netanyahu has been on the Fox News airways a lot, and that clip went super viral because he's basically asking the United States to cede our military sovereignty even more so than we already have. The Fox News host, you have to screw up to have a Fox News host kind of surprised to what Netanyahu was saying, but she's like, we're gonna have to talk a little bit about the question of sovereignty. At the end of the day, those Fox News hosts would be more than willing to do this. It is just more examples of Israel's influence in our military, in our political system, in the way that our military seems to be at the behest of whatever war Netanyahu is trying to start on any given week. I want to keep hammering this point home. Like 7 times since the year has started, ceasefires have been broken by Netanyahu, like on our behalf. Not that Trump wants to tone down anything, but we have Lebanon, we have Gaza, we have Iran, we have all of these wars that Netanyahu continues to wage. And the reality is there is an election coming up in October in Israel, and Netanyahu will absolutely lose because his name was Mr. Iran. They used to call him in Israel Mr. Iran when he was running for office. His entire political goal has been to invade Iran and enact regime change. And it's backfiring on him so much that he now has to float the idea of just combining our militaries. It is despicable, and we have to keep pushing back on that.
Yes, and the idea of merging the militaries is so insane. What if our interests diverge? First of all, they're diverged right now. But what if they steal our secrets again? Although in this case they wouldn't have to because we'd be just handing our secrets to them. But so are we supposed to say, oh, okay, what if they attack us? I know that sounds absurd, but except it's not absurd. They did it before. They attacked the USS Liberty and killed 34 Americans. So are we supposed to say, no, doesn't matter. Merge our militaries, let them have all of our technologies. You guys know I hate scams, especially the ones that target seniors. And Medicare, chock full of them. You've got commission-hungry brokers steering people toward whatever pays the broker the most, not what's best for you. Unfortunately, that's the whole game for so many of them. So here's who I actually trust. A company called Chapter. We did our homework on them. They're independent Medicare advisors, the only ones that compare every plan nationwide. The best plan for you is out there, and Chapter will help you find it. Folks who switched with Chapter last year saved an average of $1,100. Chapter's advisors are honest. They're not paid to just steer you to certain plans. They work for you, not big insurance. A guy on our team had his dad call. Turned out he was already on the right plan, and they just told him so. So they're not looking to push anything. Their entire focus is on finding what's right for you. It's free, it's under 20 minutes, so skip the scams and call Chapter today. Call 805-201-2275 for Medicare help you can trust. That's 805-201-2275. Nevertheless, the Senate voted on it yesterday, and by a vote of 50 to 46, they said, oh yeah, merge the militaries. Give away trillions of dollars for free because we're corrupt sons of bitches who all get paid by AIPAC. Good news is that's not enough votes because they needed to get past the filibuster. So it was defeated in the Senate. For now, for now. So it's put into the National Defense Authorization Act. So that's considered a must pass in Washington because they say, well, it funds our defense. Not that we ever do any defense, all we do is offense. So I don't think it has to be funded at all, but it's $1.15 trillion. Plus you have to continue the war in Iran. Plus you have to merge our militaries with Israel. So the Democrats shockingly drew the line. So we'll tell you about what happened in the House in a second, but let me give you more on this. Majority Leader John Thune switched his yes vote to a no in order to make a motion to reconsider the bill at a later date. So that's a Republican, but that's a technical thing. He voted yes in the beginning. He's just trying to bring it back later, and the only way he could do that is if he technically votes no at the end. But 4 senators did not vote. Republicans Jim Justice of West Virginia, Mitch McConnell of Kentucky. Well, I thought he was perfectly fine, that's weird. And Democrats John Fetterman of Pennsylvania and Alex Padilla of California. Fetterman obviously will be punished later by his Israeli handlers for missing that vote. But don't worry, he will show up loyally and vote for Israel later, even though he's pretending to be a Democrat. So let me show you the 50 Republican senators that voted to advance the NDAA. Just so you know, all of the Republicans voted in that direction other than the ones I just listed. And so you should know they're all traitors. They all work for Israel. They want to merge our militaries. They want to spend trillions of dollars to Israel, and they couldn't care less. So now that's called Section 219 in the House bill, the one that merges our militaries. It's called Section 1217 in the Senate version of the bill. And so although most of the Democrats gave a reason of, hey, we are against this war. And remember, this is just, can they have a debate on this? That's where they have the filibuster rules. I'd be shocked if the Democrats held the line. But I'm already shocked that they did the right thing in the Senate in the first vote. So, okay, good. I'm always super happy to take good news. But also, there was another element to this, not just the funding for the war, not just the gargantuan budget for the Pentagon, but also this Section 1217. So, as Senate Democrats, they wrote a letter, and I'm going to tell you who wrote this letter in a second. We should not be providing votes compelling Donald Trump to deepen the US relationship with Netanyahu's extremist government. The people who wrote that letter are Senator Bernie Sanders, Senator Merkley, Senator Markley, Senator Elizabeth Warren, and Senator Peter Welch from Vermont, along with the leading person driving this, Senator Van Hollen from Maryland. So it's an absolute pleasure to have Democrats actually on the right side. It almost never happens. And so it's like an enormous relief that they didn't muster up 10 Democratic votes to go with the Republicans. The senators write in the letter that Israel has repeatedly undermined peace efforts in Iran and Lebanon, as it also continues to attack and kill Palestinians in Gaza in violation of the October 2025 Gaza plan. The letter also notes growing opposition to deepening US complicity in Israel's atrocities by sending more weapons there, and it cites the April vote by 40 Senate Democrats in support of blocking weapons to Israel. What's so funny is that I went right after the vote and looked up a ton of articles, and in America, the media doesn't talk about Section 219 or 1217 at all, because they know that if they talk about it, everyone will hate it. So they're like, oh, it's no big deal. We merge our militaries all the time. We did it with Honduras and Kazakhstan the other day. Normal, we're not gonna talk about it. And then you have senators going, no, we don't want this. They're like, shut up, we're not gonna talk about it. We had to go to Al Jazeera, we had to go to Israeli press to find out more about who actually led the effort in America against these provisions. And the lead guy who did that is Senator Van Hollen. Let's look at what he had to say.
A little while ago, I got off the Senate floor where I urged my colleagues to vote no tomorrow to advance the National Defense Authorization Bill. There are two provisions that have gotten very little attention, that are kind of crawling through quietly. Both have to do with greater support to the government of Israel. One of them is a provision Netanyahu has taken credit for pushing, which would require more joint defense cooperation between the United States and Israel. We know from our own experience that Israel has previously vetoed our ability to act in our own national security interests when we wanted to send some weapon systems to Ukraine that had been co-produced with Israel. And Israel blocked us from doing it. Another provision mandates that the US government share more intelligence with the government of Israel. Look, we can share intelligence with the government of Israel or any other government when we want. Why would the United States Congress order the executive branch to share more intelligence, regardless of what the government of Israel is doing? Why would we be doing that? We shouldn't. It's not in our national security interest to do it. We can always choose on a case-by-case basis to do whatever we want. Let's not mandate it.
That is so overwhelmingly obvious. I mean, first of all, what does it mean that they blocked us from doing something we wanted to do, the American government did? Why does Israel hold any power over us? Well, there's a very good answer to that. And he says, and then why do we have to mandate that we work with them? I mean, what if they sent in another Jonathan Pollard or 20 Jonathan Pollards and they're doing active espionage or working against our interests? Do we still have to mandate that we give them everything? And of course, the answer to why is because 94% of Congress gets money from the Israeli lobby. So they're bought, they're corrupt, and they don't work for America. And if you're saying, well, Cenk, at least in the Senate, we got a good result there. We did, and I was happy about it. I did a video about it last night. But as I told you, don't get too excited. Go over to the House, they vote on it there. Just happened a little while before the show started. It turns out 104 people voted down Thomas, voted yes in favor of Thomas Massey's amendment to cut aid to Israel. But 314 said, absolutely not, we work for Israel, right? So 314 Israelis, but that's actually the lowest count we've ever had in the US Congress in my lifetime. So Adam, a little bit of good news and then we move backwards anyway. Isn't it the most obvious thing on planet Earth that they're all voting this way because they got paid millions of dollars in campaign contributions to vote that way?
Again, yeah, special interest groups are distorting our politicians and turning them into really pro-Israel shills when they shouldn't be. I also want to say it was really refreshing to hear Senator Van Hollen speak in that manner. Obviously, he's just stating things that should be obvious to all of us. But he was speaking with some moral clarity and he was leading by example and taking a position that would have been unthinkable a few years ago in the mainstream Democratic Party. We have to keep pushing for that position. You made a really, really good point. What if the incentives or what if the interests of both countries begins to differ? We're even seeing that right now. The incentive of Benjamin Netanyahu, the political incentive is for him to keep this war going as long as he can because he'll likely go to jail, lose power, and lose everything if he's voted out and he's not this wartime president. He's really just a war criminal. The incentive of Donald Trump seems to be deep down that Trump wants to find an off-ramp. He is like desperately saying that Iran is begging for a deal when it's very clear he just wants to salvage anything before the midterm. So when you have incentives of Netanyahu to keep this going, and Trump probably wants to tone this down, why would we ever, this thumbs up keeps popping up, why would we ever have a joint military with these two countries when the incentives are differing? It's disgusting. One final point. We currently spend $1 trillion per year just on the interest of our debt, just to service the US national debt. A lot of that debt was built up by Donald Trump, by Republican presidents who are going to war on behalf of Israel and Iraq and Afghanistan and other countries. This is going to be a burden that my generation has to bear for the rest of my life. A lot of people, whether you're worried about the debt or not, people should be able to admit that $1 trillion per year just for the interest of our debt is absurd. That's money that could be going towards healthcare, could be going towards social services. But no, we're going to spend more money funding our military, Israel's military, starting more wars. It's despicable and it's expensive.
Last question on this. Hakeem Jeffries voted to keep giving money to Israel, even though 80% of his voters are against funding Israel. Should Hakeem Jeffries be the leader of the Democrats in the House?
No, not if he's going to keep on following the distortionary incentives of special interest groups over what the actual voters of the Democratic Party want. I'm really, when it comes to the Senate, I'm really, really liking Van Hollen lately. I could see him being a really, really good leader.
Yes, Van Hollen would be great in the Senate. Ro Khanna is great in the House. So there are good Democrats out there. And as you saw in the Senate, hey, they held the line. Nice job. And so that was a shocking piece of good news. So I guess we'll take our wins where we can get them, but we need a lot more where that came from. Every time you ring the bell below, an angel gets his wings. Totally not true, but it does keep you updated on our live shows.